Hello citizens and welcome back. In today's video, I want to take a look at the current state of the contract manager and the mission system, issues they have, and how they could be improved. As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like and a comment to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. Also, if any of you have access to the new hype feature on YouTube, try clicking that button. I want to see what happens. And of course, here is a shout out to our amazing patrons for their support of the channel and the Armory. The contract manager has been a part of our Mobiglass for a long time now, but it has gone through a few visual updates in the last few years. And there was also the big Mobiglass refactor this year that brought it up to the building block standard. But functionally, it has remained mostly unchanged. There was always a list of contracts divided by categories or by whether they are verified or not. And until now, this was actually pretty good. But now with a lot of new missions being introduced and soon new mission types being introduced in Pyro, we are starting to see some gaps. On top of that, there are new players coming into Star Citizen who are also pointing out some issues that they are seeing. And this actually highlights a very interesting phenomenon for me. Players who have been around for a long time are sometimes so used to the way things are done in Star Citizen that it's actually difficult for us to see what could improve with things like Mobiglass or the mission system in general. And I also find that people often dismiss the feedback coming from new players. But these new players often bring fresh perspectives that could actually lead to improvement. And that's why I also think it's important to occasionally take a break from Star Citizen and play other games to see what features and gameplay we're missing. And that brings us back to the contract manager. While it works pretty well, it's actually missing some quality of life features that would help new players but also long-time backers. So I gathered some input, especially from new players I encountered with the guide system or during free fly events this year. And here's the first thing that a lot of players mentioned to me. Having some kind of a map display to be a part of the contract description. Something that would show them where the mission is in relation to their current position. Now, mission descriptions do sometimes tell you the distance to the objective. And once you accept a mission, you get a marker. But that distance information doesn't mean much without context and knowledge of the area. Veteran players can generally tell you where the mission is based on the description and distance, but only because we played that mission a few dozen times already. A new player might not know where certain missions are or even what the planets are called, so they might be looking for a local mission to start out but end up traveling across the system instead. And once Pyro and other star systems come in, this information will be useful for everyone. Now, the map doesn't have to be too complicated or interactive. Just a 2D projection of the route from your position to the target displayed over the system map. This way, you get enough information to make a decision or look it up in the star map. Next, a display of risk level. Now, again, some missions will have this in the description, especially for bounties, but sometimes it's not obvious. I think what new players are looking for is some kind of a global numerical risk rating for every mission. This could also tie into some of the other features I'm going to mention in a minute, but I like the way Elite Dangerous does this. You look at a list of missions and you very quickly get an idea of how dangerous each mission is. And that actually kind of ties into the next item on the list. Missions don't show you whether you're gaining reputation for them or not. And this is actually not obvious from the mission descriptions either. Also, some missions like hauling or salvage don't explicitly give you reputation that you can see in the reputation app. But by doing more of these missions, you unlock higher level ones. I actually don't think people even want to see the numerical value for the reputation gain, but more likely something like, by doing this mission you gain reputation with whatever mission giver or company, or completing this mission unlocks more missions from this mission giver. That way, players can correlate missions to the reputations they see in the reputation app. And generally, I would like to see more information given in the reputation app about your current standing and recent reputation changes. And that brings me to the next item. Sometimes I get new players saying that they did a mission and got a crime stat. And then I usually ask them if they accepted something from the unverified tab of the mission manager. And when they say that they did, I explain to them that those are actually illegal missions, which will often give you crime stat. Now, you can't exactly say this is illegal in the contracts in order to keep things believable, but maybe add a global warning to the contract manager on the unverified tab. Something like, these contracts are from unverified sources and may link to illicit activities. Basically something similar to the watch for scams warning you find on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. And that brings me to the final feature we're missing in the contract manager. This was somewhat visible when salvage contracts were released, but the need for this feature really came out when hauling contracts were introduced. And that is the need for better filtering. For example, if you have done a few hauling contracts, you can have up to 100 possible missions available to you in the hauling category. And sometimes you actually have to scroll through quite a few of them before you find the one you want. And I don't know if it's just me, but doing this gives me flashbacks to trying to find tickets in Jira. So I would like to see some more filtering options within each of the mission categories. So for example, for hauling, I would like to be able to filter by volume of cargo and the locations involved. And generally being able to filter out missions that are local to the planet you're on right now and the nearby moons would be pretty helpful. And also being able to filter by risk rating. But the problem with this feature is that it would require a larger change of how the mission manager works, while the other items we discussed are mostly wording changes and small visual adjustments to the listings. Also, we can't forget that the contract manager doesn't exist in a vacuum, but it's a part of the mission system. And I think we can expect some changes to the mission system when Pyro comes out or at some point after. Because my understanding is that eventually not all missions will be available in the mission manager. To get them, you will have to talk to a person and they will give you the details. And hopefully through that conversation you will be able to figure out everything you need to know. But the contract manager will still be a thing for more official contracts, so I think it's worthwhile for CIG to improve it. Also, I think that eventually we will have to diversify the mission rewards, and maybe even give players the choice of rewards for each mission. Right now, the primary mission rewards are money and reputation. But eventually CIG will add item rewards, whether that is weapons or components or materials and blueprints. And that last one will be very important once crafting is released, and especially in less populated systems where players will have to craft most of their gear. At the same time, the choice of mission rewards allows players to customize the reward to what they need. Maybe the player is just passing through the area and needs some money, so they might opt for more money and less reputation. Or maybe the player has enough money from another gameplay loop, but they want to gain some reputation, so they opt for more reputation but less money. And I think that this creates a much more dynamic mission system and lets players truly find their own path through the verse. And with that being said, that's all for today. What do you think? What features would you like to see in the contract manager? How would you improve missions in general? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.